Eli was just stepping out of the bathroom, a towel in his hand and nothing else. His skin was still wet from the hot shower, steam rolling behind him. He thought he was alone in the apartment. That was the rule they never crossed into each. Others spaced without warning, but when he turned the corner into the living room, he froze. She was standing there, Zira, his alien roommate, staring at him with wide, glowing violet eyes. Her skin was smooth and purple, marked with soft white lines that pulsed faintly under the light. Her long, pointed ears twitched slightly as her gaze slowly scanned him from head to toe. Eli panicked. Grabbing the towel and wrapping it around his waist, "Zira, you can't just walk in like that." She didn't blink, didn't move, didn't apologize. She simply tilted her head and said in a calm, almost robotic voice, "I did not mean to intrude, but I saw something I wasn't expecting." Eli's face turned red. Yeah, no kidding. But she still didn't turn around. Her eyes seemed locked on him, like she was studying him, not in a perverted way, but like a scientist watching a strange new creature. Zira finally blinked and stepped back into her room. The door sliding shut behind her without another word. Eli stood there, heart racing. Towel clutched tightly, confused more than angry. What the hell was that? That night, he couldn't sleep. Zira didn't come out for dinner. Usually, she cooked strange alien meals or joined him for simple Earth food. But the apartment was quiet. Too quiet. Kay knocked on her door. Once no answer. He didn't try again. He sat on the couch, flipping through his tablet, but his mind kept going back to the way she looked at him. Not like someone embarrassed, but like someone. Awakening around midnight, he finally gave up and went to bed. But he wasn't alone. From the shadows across the room, Zira stood silently, watching. Her eyes glowed faintly in the dark. She had changed into something light-flowing, silken fabric that shimmered against her skin. She didn't move. She just stared. And then she whispered something so soft it almost didn't reach him. "I saw something important." Eli sat up, blinking. "What are you doing in my room?" She stepped closer, but kept her distance. "Your body is not like ours. It reacts strangely." I couldn't look away. He groaned and pulled the blanket up. "Look, I didn't mean for you to see that. It was a mistake." Zira didn't move. "Do all human males look like that?" His face burned. "That's not really something you ask." "But I must ask," she said quietly, "because now something inside me is changing." Eli's heart skipped a beat. He had no idea what she meant, and frankly, he didn't want to know, not tonight. He rubbed his forehead and said, "Can we just forget this happened?" She tilted her head again, a small smile playing on her lips. "No, I don't think I can." Then she turned around and walked out. Her feet making no sound on the floor, Eli laid back on his bed, eyes wide open. He had no idea what tomorrow would bring, but one thing was certain. His alien roommate was not the same anymore. And neither was he. The next morning, Eli woke up with a heavy feeling in his chest. His alien roommate, Zira, had seen him completely naked, and the look in her eyes still haunted him. It wasn't just surprise. It was something deeper. Something he didn't understand. He walked into the kitchen, hoping things would go back to normal. Maybe she'd pretend it didn't happen. Maybe she'd be gone to her lab job on the upper level of the station. But she was there, standing silently by the counter. Her long purple fingers wrapped around a steaming cup. Her eyes bright and sharp watched him again. "Good morning," she said in her calm, smooth voice. Eli hesitated, scratching the back of his neck. "Hey, about last night I've been thinking," she interrupted. "You're kind. You hide your bodies. Why?" Lee blinked. "Because we have something called privacy. It's normal for humans." Zira placed her cup down. "We do not hide. We don't feel shame for our forms. But now I understand. humans do. It is curious. He grabbed a protein bar from the cabinet and tried to change the topic. But she wasn't finished. Also, she added, last night, I ran a scan on myself that made him pause. A scan. Why? I felt something in my body. Something different. Like a signal waking up, she said, voice quiet now. It only started after I saw you. Eli turned to her, now fully alert. A signal. Are you saying your body reacted because you saw me naked? She nodded once. Yes. Eli dropped the bar. Zyra walked closer, her steps slow, her expression unreadable. In my species, certain instincts only activate during the bonding season, but my cycle is 2 years away. So this shouldn't happen. Unless something triggered it, Eli stepped back, bumping into the kitchen wall. Okay, whoa, hold on. Q. Haley activated you. She tilted her head. Not exactly. But it is likely you initiated a pre-instinctual response. That sounds worse, Eli muttered. Zyra took a deep breath. I accessed the station AI medical logs. Eli looked up, alarmed. You did what? I needed to understand more about human physiology, she said, like it was the most normal thing. You are biologically unusual. That's called private data, Zyra. You can't just go digging through my medical records. I didn't read your full file, she said quickly. Just enough. He rubbed his temples, feeling the headache build. You're seriously crossing lines here? She looked down, her voice quieter now. I am trying to understand. I do not want to hurt you or scare you. But something has changed. Inside me, and you are the reason. There was a moment of silence between them. Finally, Eli sighed and sat down at the table. Okay. So, what do we do now? Zyra sat across from him, her glowing tattoos slightly dimmed. We need to set boundaries, she said, her voice now softer, almost human-like. Eli raised an eyebrow. Now you understand boundaries. She nodded. Last night, I stood in your room and watched you sleep. I didn't know that was wrong. His eyes widened. You what? She held up a hand. I apologize. That was before I understood human rules. I will not enter your room again without permission. Eli leaned back in his chair, unsure whether to be creeped out or impressed by her honesty. But one thing I must ask, she said, leaning forward just a little. Can you teach me how humans deal with connection? Connection, Eli asked. Confused, Zyra's eyes glowed a little brighter. Yes, when two beings feel something, even if it starts by accident. Eli looked at her closely. She was serious, completely serious. He took a long breath and replied, Zyra, we call that attraction. But it doesn't start from walking in on someone in the shower. Her smile was small, almost shy. Then maybe I need to experience more. To understand better, Eli stood up, grabbing his bar. Let's just start with lesson 1 knocking before entering as he walked away. Zyra whispered to herself. 1 knock, then connection. But what Eli didn't know was that Zyra had already sent a private message to her homeworld, subject, unexpected activation due to human contact. Request, observe further. For the next few days, Eli tried to return to a normal routine. Gym, work, instant noodles. Ignore the fact that his alien roommate had seen him naked, and then scanned herself to see if she was activating. But normal didn't last. Long Zyra had changed. She moved differently now, slower, watching more, listening more. She didn't sit across from him anymore. She sat closer, like she was measuring something invisible between them. And every time she got too close, Eli's skin would crawl. Not in fear, in awareness. One evening, he was doing push-ups in the living room, sweat dripping down his back. His music was playing, and for a while he forgot everything. Just focused on the burn in his muscles until he noticed the silence. He looked up. Zira was there, watching him again. "Do you always breathe like that when your muscles flex?" she asked. He jumped up and grabbed a towel. "You've been standing?" "They're long." 7 minutes, she said calmly. "Zira, this is getting weird," Eli muttered, wiping sweat from his face. "You keep sneaking up on me." "I did not sneak," she said, stepping forward. "I observed." "Well, stop observing." "I'm not a science project." Zira lowered her eyes. "I apologize. I forget your species values distance." Eli sighed, but said nothing. Her voice didn't sound robotic anymore. It was softer, hesitant. Then she said something that made him freeze. "Your scent," she whispered. "It's stronger after physical effort. It makes my pulse react." Eli slowly turned to face her. "You're smelling me now?" Zira nodded, her pupils slightly wider than usual. "Your body releases chemicals. My species detects these through the air. It's not intentional. It's instinct." Eli took a step back. "Okay, but you can choose to leave the room, right?" "Did try," she admitted, "but I find myself walking toward you. Even in my sleep cycle, I dream about standing near you." Eli's stomach dropped. This wasn't attraction. This sounded biological, deep, dangerous. "So you're saying your body is bonding with mine?" he asked, voice flat. "I believe so," she said, her expression unreadable, but not fully. "It's like we're halfway to." "What?" Zira hesitated, then whispered, claiming Eli's heart skipped. "Excuse me?" "In my species, when a partner shows strong genetic signals, we begin instinctive behavior. It starts with observation, then mimicry, then touch, then..." Claiming, Eli held his hands up. "Okay? Nope. We are not going to that final step." Zira nodded slowly. "Then I must stop the process." Relief washed over him until she added, "But stopping it without completion is dangerous?" "For me." Eli stared at her. "What do you mean, dangerous?" "The instinct is denied. My body may begin shutdown immune failure, neural collapse," she said quietly. "But it will take a few cycles." He backed away, like she'd just said she had a bomb inside her. "Are you telling me if we don't complete this alien bonding thing, you'll die?" "Possibly," she said softly. "It's rare, but it has happened." Eli sat down hard on the couch. "Why me? Why now? You've lived with humans before, right?" Zira looked away, her voice almost a whisper. "No. You're my first close contact. I was chosen because of my resistance to bonding. But now, I think they were wrong." There was silence, thick and heavy. Then Eli asked, "You sent a report to your people, didn't you?" She didn't answer right away. "Yes," she said. "They told me to isolate the reaction. A test." His mind raced. This wasn't just awkward anymore. This was serious, life-threatening for her. And if anyone found out, especially the Interspecies Council, he could be deported, interrogated. Or worse. Suddenly, Zira reached forward and gently placed her hand on his arm. Warm, electric. Her touch was soft, but the feeling was strong. "Don't be afraid," she said. "I don't want to hurt you. I just want to survive." Eli looked at her glowing eyes, her trembling fingers, and realized she wasn't lying. Whatever this alien instinct was, it had already begun, and now he was part of it. Eli didn't sleep that night. He just lay there, eyes wide open, staring at the ceiling. His mind trapped in a storm of questions. How did a simple roommate agreement turn into this? Zira, his quiet alien flatmate, had confessed something shocking. If their bond wasn't completed, her body could start to fail. And now, he was somehow part of it. He turned toward his door. He didn't lock it, even though part of him wanted. 2. He didn't want to hurt her feelings. But more than that, he wasn't sure if he feared her. Or himself. The next morning, Zyra didn't speak. She just sat on the couch, silent, legs folded beneath her. Her eyes were dimmer than usual. Tattoos on her skin glowing only faintly. "You okay?" Eli asked, keeping his distance. "I'm suppressing instinct manually," she said, her voice weak. "But it drains me." He sat down slowly. "We can figure this out." "There has to be another way." "There might be," she said softly. "But we'd need permission from who?" She didn't answer. Suddenly, the apartment door buzzed. Zyra's eyes flicked up fast. "No," she whispered. "They're here." Eli stood up, confused. "Who's here?" Before she could answer, the door slid open. 2 tall alien officials stepped inside. Same purple skin, but wearing tight silver armor and glowing emblems. Their eyes were cold, calculating Zyra of House Nerul. The taller one spoke. "You are to return immediately. Your assignment has failed." "No," she said, standing shakily. "I'm still collecting data. You've compromised." "Yourself," the shorter one said, eyes flicking toward Eli. "This human has triggered the instinct." Eli stepped between them. "Hey, she's not going anywhere." The taller alien raised an eyebrow. "You are not authorized to interfere." "Human, I live with her. I care what happens to her." "That makes me involved," Eli said, fists clenched. Zyra touched his shoulder gently, her hand shaking. "It's okay." "I expected this," she said quietly. "If I resist, they will use force." Eli turned to her, his voice low. "Zyra, do you want to go with them?" She hesitated, then slowly shook her head. "No, not anymore." The officials stepped forward, ready to grab her, but Zyra's tattoos lit up bright white, glowing like fire. "I do not consent," she said loudly. "I invoke bonding rights." The room froze. The taller official narrowed his eyes. "You would dare invoke the ancient law with a human?" "I would," she said firmly, her voice now steady, "because my body has chosen." Eli blinked. "Wait, what's she talking about?" Short one hissed. "If you do not return, your bond must be confirmed publicly." "And legally, what does that mean?" Eli asked. "It means," Zyra said, turning to him, "you must say you accept the bond, or I go into stasis." Eli stared at her. This wasn't romance. This was survival. This was deeper than anything he'd ever faced. Zyra placed her hand on his chest. "You don't have to love me. Just protect what has begun." He looked into her glowing eyes. Alien, strange, but not threatening. Then he said the words, slowly, "I accept the bond." The room glowed for a moment, Zyra's tattoos pulsing like heartbeat lines. The alien officials stepped back. "It is done," one of them said bitterly. "But understand this, human, your decision has consequences." And just like that, they turned and left. The door slid shut. Eli stood there, heart racing, skin tingling where Zyra touched him. He didn't fully understand what had just happened. But one thing was clear. He wasn't just her roommate anymore. He was something else, a chosen partner, a protector, a threat. And outside that apartment, eyes were now watching them from every direction. The message arrived exactly 12 hours after the bond was declared. A sharp beep echoed through the apartment, and a red light blinked on the wall console. Eli stepped closer, expecting a regular station update, but when the screen activated, his stomach dropped. Notice, human subject Eli Vance is now flagged under interspecies bond protocol. Report immediately to Council Station Room 7C. He turned to Zyra, who was already standing stiff behind him, her glowing eyes dark with fear. "They know," she whispered. "They always know." Eli frowned. What does this mean? I thought. The bond protected you. It does, Zyra said, but only by ancient law. The council, they follow new rules. He stared at the screen, then at her. So now they want to separate us. They will try, she said, walking to the center of the room. And if they can't, they'll remove me instead. Wait, remove you. Like what? Deportation. Zyra looked him in the eyes. No, Eli, I mean, erasure. I'm a class for life form with biological instability. They think I'm dangerous now. Eli sat down slowly, his heart pounding just because of this bond. Zyra nodded. A full interspecies bond hasn't happened in over 200 years. When it did, it caused chaos. The old stories say the bonded pair could communicate without words, share thoughts, feel each other's pain. Eli blinked. So you're saying if you get hurt, I feel it? It hasn't started yet, she said, but it could. The air in the room changed. Zyra moved closer, and Eli didn't pull away this time. Her voice dropped low, almost like a secret. I never wanted this to happen, Eli. I thought I was strong. I thought I could resist it. You didn't choose it, he said softly. It just happened. She nodded, and then the door buzzed. Again, this time, it wasn't officials. It was a human, tall, pale, dressed in black armor with an Earth emblem on his shoulder. He stepped in without asking, scanning the room with cold, precise eyes. Eli Vance, you've made contact with a species under Level 3 restriction. I didn't do anything illegal. Eli replied, standing protectively in front of Zyra. That's not for you to decide, the man said flatly. Your bond triggered a council-level alarm. Earth's command has been notified. Zyra stiffened. Earth's command? Why? Because this, he said, gesturing between them, isn't just a mistake. It's a threat. Eli stepped forward. You can't just walk in here and decide that. We've done nothing wrong. The man pulled a small device from his belt. You've created an interspecies anomaly. The last time this happened, both civilizations nearly collapsed. We're here to prevent that, Zyra whispered. They're going to erase my memory. Eli turned sharply. What? That device, she said, her voice trembling. It's a neural disruptor. They'll wipe the bond from my mind. I won't. Remember you, Eli looked at the human soldier. You'd really do that? Just erase her like she's a file. She's not human, the man said coldly, and that bond could evolve. If it does, it might connect to others, create links across species. Mind to mind that breaks every rule in the interspecies accord. Eli clenched his fists. Maybe the rules need to be broken. The man sighed and tapped his communicator. Subject non-compliant. Prepare for override. Zyra suddenly stepped forward, standing between Eli and the device. No, she said firmly, her voice now powerful and clear. You will not take him from me, for a moment. Her skin shimmered and the tattoos on her arms flared. To life, glowing like ancient runes, the lights in the room flickered. The human soldier took a step back, alarmed. What are you doing? Eli asked, eyes wide. Zyra whispered, I'm finishing the bond. Before Eli could ask what that meant, her fingers brushed his cheek. Suddenly, his mind exploded with light, sound, color. He saw her memories, her home world, her birth, her first steps, her shame, her training, her fear. He felt her heartbeat, her panic, her hope, her pain, and then silence. When he opened his eyes again, Zyra was kneeling on the ground, glowing softly, her energy nearly drained. But Eli didn't feel dizzy. He felt alive, connected, changed. The soldier stared at them, jaw clenched. It's too late, he muttered. Backing away, the bond is complete. And then he vanished into the hallway without another word. Eli knelt beside her, holding her close. "Zyra, what did you do?" She smiled weakly. "I gave you a part of me, so I could survive. And now?" They weren't just bonded. They were something more. The bond was complete. But peace didn't follow. Zyra lay on the couch, her breathing shallow, her skin glowing softly in the dim light. Eli sat beside her, one hand wrapped around hers. He could feel her heartbeat nod through his ears, but inside his own chest. She had shared her mind with him, her feelings, her instincts. A part of her now lived inside him, and yet the door buzzed again. This time, it wasn't a warning, it was an ultimatum. A high-definition projection flared to life in the center of the apartment. The United Earth's Diplomatic Council. Human generals. Alien delegates, suits and symbols. Cold faces. A woman in a gray uniform spoke first, her voice sharp. "Eli Vance, you have violated interspecies Regulation 19C. You bonded with a restricted class alien. That bond is now psychic, permanent, and unstable." Eli stood, fists clenched. "You don't understand. She didn't plan this." "We didn't. You have two options," the woman interrupted. "Option 1, surrender the alien to be placed in cryostasis for permanent biological isolation." Zyra gasped behind him, weak but alert. "That's a cage," she whispered. Eli's voice rose. "What's option 2? The image paused, then changed. A flashing red warning filled the room. Option 2, declared species bonding violation. Full exile. No return to Earth. No contact with humans. You will be stripped of all rights as a citizen of Earth." Zyra sat up slowly. "They will send us to a death world," the councilwoman continued. "You have 24 hours to decide. Exile. Surrender the alien." The message ended. The room went dark again. Eli stared at the black screen. No more hiding. No more pretending this was going to end quietly. He turned to Zyra. "They're afraid of us." Zyra nodded, her voice soft. "Not of me." "Of us?" Eli walked to the window. Outside, the stars shimmered beyond the station's glass wall. Somewhere, out there, was safety, or doom. He had to choose. Either he handed Zyra over and let her be locked in a cold machine forever. He left everything behind. Earth, his name, his past, his people. What would happen if they took you? He asked quietly. Zyra didn't answer right away. Then she said, "My memories of you would be erased. The bond would decay. I would slowly forget who I was." Eli swallowed hard. "And if we run?" She looked at him, a flicker of hope in her glowing eyes. "Then we survive." Together, he walked to her, knelt down, and placed his forehead against hers. "I won't let them erase you," he whispered. "I won't lose you. Not now." Then, without another word, he walked to the terminal and activated the emergency override system. A voice responded. "Emergency protocol detected. State your request." Eli took a deep breath. "This is Eli Vance. I'm initiating rogue departure status. I request a small, long-range shuttle, stealth-coded. Destination? No registry. Request will flag you as a fugitive. The system." "Warned. Confirm," Eli said. "Now authorization needed," the voice replied. Zyra stood beside him and pressed her glowing hand against the console. "Biological partner confirmed," the system said. Launch window opening in 8 hours. The plan was set. But even as the shuttle was being prepared, the danger wasn't over. Zyra suddenly gasped and grabbed her head. There inside, someone's trying to break the bond remotely. Eli ran to her, holding her steady. "How?" "Someone's using a pulse wave. They're trying to burn the neural bridge," she cried, trembling. "They want to damage me from the insides so I collapse and surrender." Eli stared at her, and a rage built inside him hotter than anything he'd ever felt before. He ran. To the console again, fingers flying across controls, he sent out one message. Voice trembling but strong. To whoever is listening, you try to break her mind again. I swear, I'll show you what a human bonded in love and rage can do. He ended the call and turned back to Zyra. Her breathing was steadying again. The attack had stopped for now. She looked at him, truly looked, and whispered, "You chose me. Even when the whole world turned against you." He nodded, eyes firm, "And I'd do it again." The countdown had begun. Eli stood in the hangar bay, staring at the sleek black shuttle hidden beneath layers of magnetic shielding. It hummed quietly, waiting. The stealth systems were online. Engines were warm. One flight, one launch, and they would vanish from all known maps. Zyra stood beside him, draped in a long silver cloak, her glowing tattoos pulsing gently. Her eyes were calm, now no afraid, not confused. She had chosen, and he had chosen too. They were no longer just a human and an alien. They were something else. They were bonded, but outside the launch bay, chaos brewed. Across the station, lights flashed. Warnings blared in multiple languages. Earth Command had sealed exit routes. Council agents were moving. Doors were locking one by one. Shuttle bay. Access detected, said a voice from the ceiling. Unauthorized departure in progress. Protocol, containment. Eli glanced at Zyra. We're running out of time. I'll clear us a path. She said, and for the first time, her voice wasn't soft, it was powerful. She raised her hand. And the lights around them blinked, then shattered. Energy rippled from her skin like heat waves. Every console around them died at once. Systems disabled. The AI stuttered. Error. Error. Zyra's connection to him wasn't just emotional anymore, it was amplifying her abilities. The bond gave her strength she never had before. They rushed toward the shuttle, but before they reached it, a wall opened and a squad of armored soldiers stood in their way. Weapons raised, orders shouted. "Step away from the alien," barked the captain. "This is your final warning." Eli didn't flinch. Zyra stood beside him, glowing brighter. "We are leaving," she said, "and no one will stop us." The soldiers hesitated. Then, something unexpected happened. A second message echoed through the hangar from the Interspecies Council. "Do not fire," said a calm alien voice. "Stand down." "We are observing." The soldiers froze. One by one, they lowered their weapons, confused. Unsure, Eli looked up at the security cam in the ceiling and whispered, "You're watching." "Good. Then watch what happens next." He and Zyra stepped into the shuttle. The doors closed. Inside, the lights flicked on. The hum of power filled the air. Zyra sat beside him, her fingers dancing over controls that responded to her touch like they were part of her body. Eli buckled in. "You ready?" he asked. She smiled. "Only if you are." The engines flared. In one blinding second, the ship blasted out of the bay just as the final doors tried to seal shut. They escaped, out into the blackness of space, silent stars above them. A million new worlds ahead. Eli turned to Zyra and asked, "So where do we go?" She placed her hand over his. "Anywhere they can't find us." But even as they disappeared into deep space, something bigger had already begun. 3 days later, across the galaxy, news spread faster than light. A human and an alien bonded, escaped, untouchable. Sensors failed to trace them. Neither Earth nor the Council could explain the energy readings during their escape. Some called it love, some called it danger. But one thing was certain, they were the first interstellar pair. Other alien species began to ask questions. Could bonding with humans be possible? What if instincts weren't just biological, but emotional too? In quiet corners of space, others began to reach out. Secretly, carefully, and somewhere. In the darkness between stars, Eli and Zyra were no longer running. They were free. They had no map, no planet, no flag, but they had each other. And that was enough.